Welcome into the Stardom Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Stefen McKinney, joined by my great co-hosts, Ashton Mitchell and Jacob Stevens. How you guys doing?
I'm feeling good here on take 2 or 3 that took us to get started.
Rough start.
That's all right.
Sorry, you worked that button, Jacob.
Well, we finally got the intro in at least to what we were hoping for. So that's a good start. Today we're talking AFC running backs. We're going to go over our top 24 running backs over the next 2 weeks. We've broken them into 13 AFC running backs and 11 NFC running backs in our consensus top 24. So we'll be breaking down our top 13 from the AFC this week and our top 11 next week for the NFC. I know this is one of the crucial positions, so definitely a podcast you're going to want to listen to for this episode. But other than that, we got some news for you guys. First off, Damian Williams has chosen to opt out, which seems to be the first big fantasy relevant opt out due to COVID. I mean, there's a lot of concerns talking about that. Kind of opened up that backfield for what we were expecting to see with someone who we're going to talk about in just a little bit with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I don't think, many people saw this one coming. Are you guys expecting any more big opt-outs before Thursday?
I mean, I'm not going to – I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't want it to happen if that's what you –
the NFL and the world we live in is a crazy place right now, and who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what the morning news will bring? You
guys haven't had any calls from any of those NFL superstars informing you guys of some early news before it comes out?
No, not in a while. I normally stay in pretty close contact with them. I try to anyway. Been kind of busy, too busy for them. But there was a little talks with Jarvis Landry. Or wait, no, it was Odell. Odell said he didn't think the NFL was ready for this stuff. And I think they are. And hopefully we don't see too many big fantasy pieces leaving us.
I think Antonio Brown's going to sign a contract and just opt out for the remainder of the season. He's not suspended.
Just so he can.
Yeah, just so he can, yeah.
Just so his name can be in the news once more. But yeah, I mean, the day to watch is Thursday at 4 p.m. That's when the NFL has given players to choose to opt out. So keep an eye out until Thursday just to see if any of those top fantasy options do decide to drop out before that timeline. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was kind of a quiet week in terms of breaking news in the NFL. Of course, we heard a little bit about, will Antonio Brown try out for more teams? Will he come out of the short-lived retirement? That kind of thing. But nothing of great value so far in the news this week.
Whoa. I think you're forgetting about the mediocre opt-out of the week, which was Geronimo Allison.
You got to give some respect to Geronimo Allison, though.
You respect anyone that played with Aaron Rodgers, and you just
makes everybody relevant.
Or anyone just generally named Geronimo.
That's true. Great name. I mean,
if only he could have been great in fantasy, he would have been a name that you'd like to throw around a lot.
For sure. For sure.
But that kind of does it for our news this week. We did have one listener questions we wanted to kind of highlight here. And more of kind of a specific question, but still a question that we want to make sure that we get to. One of our listeners has asked, he's in a 12-team half-point PPR league, a keeper league, and he had 3 options that he was kind of considering for who he chose to be his keeper this year. And he does have the 4th overall pick in the coming up draft. So his 3 options that he wanted to consider were Dalvin Cook, who he drafted in the 2nd round, Mark Andrews in the 12th round, and Devin Singletary in the 13th round. Out of those 3 options, who kind of sticks out to y'all for who your top consideration would be?
As we discussed earlier, Dalvin Cook to me it wasn't as much value as Mark Andrews, like you're about to tell us. But I think when you have these keeper leagues, they're only keeping one person each, but at least 8 of those 12 are probably going to be running backs. So it's going to be limited as it is. And if you got the 4th overall pick, you'll be able to take the best running back or one of the best running backs available. And then you'll have Dalvin Cook as well and not have to take – I don't even know who you'll be taking in the 2nd round at that point. But that's kind of who I liked on that. But I could definitely see the other side of the argument, which you're about to tell me about.
Oh, yeah, I'll jump right into it. I think the thing with if you choose not to go Dalvin Cook, he might not still be there at your 4th overall pick, given that, some people might hold on to the CMC or the Zeke or, those top tier running backs. So Dalvin Cook might not make it back to you at that 4th overall pick. But I still think the value that you get with Mark Andrews, you took him in the 12th round, just losing a 12th round pick when he's going right now, currently at the back end of the 3rd round. So, you still got to hold on to all your really early round picks. So I think you can kind of build that running back core while holding on to those picks and still get a superstar Mark Andrews. That's kind of my thought process in it. But I think Dalvin Cook is also, a worthy option to go with as well.
Yeah, I agree with the Mark Andrews pick. Just
Whatever,
overall,
guys.
yeah,
Whatever.
Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I don't think Devin Singletary would be in the consideration with Mark Andrews and Dalvin Cook, though. I don't think you can go wrong with either of those 2 picks. There's an argument to be made for both of them. So whichever way you choose to go, let us know. Make sure to send us another message and, let us know how it turned out for you after your draft. We'd love to hear it.
Questions can – go ahead. Sorry, Ashton.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that questions can be like that, asking about – it doesn't have to be a straight up question like yes, no, or who's going to be better than that. Like if you have a personal personal questions are welcome too. But if you have a league question of your own and you just need some help making a decision, we're definitely here for that as well.
Yeah, especially once the season starts, if you have questions about who to sit, who to
start them.
We're happy to help that out as well. If there are too many, we'll try to answer them, direct messages back to you, or if not, we'll include it in the show. So make sure to tune in to catch it on the show if we don't answer you directly. But yeah, Ashton, if you don't have anything else to add to that, we'll jump right into the running backs.
No, I'm good. You guys had it.
All right. Well, our top AFC running back actually ends up to be who Damian Williams kind of opened the door for. Ashton, you seem to be big on it with your background. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be our consensus number 6 running back this year. Just absolutely climbed up the rankings following the Damian Williams news. I think before, I don't know who the highest was on him before that, but I think probably the highest was maybe 15, 14, something like that. But now our highest ranking, Ashton, you have him at 6. So I'll let you lead the way on why you're so excited for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
So I wasn't at first. When the Damian Williams news broke, I wasn't as excited as I am now. I have him borderline round 1, round 2. So
he's going round 1 everywhere, boys. I sent you that text right when it happened. You didn't believe me.
Yes,
it's gonna happen.
I will agree. I was wrong. And then after a little bit more research and I watched some more film of his and read a few more articles, I definitely agree that he is landing right there, 11, 12 spot, round 1 for the majority of drafts. I'm sure a lot of people – I even heard today that some drafts are taking him literally as the first pick, round 1, which kind of blows my mind. But
Chiefs fans.
For sure.
Solid Super Bowl high, hyped up Chiefs fans just drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire round 1, pick 1. But I just think it's a perfect setup for him. You have Andy Reid's offense, which just spoon feeds running backs touchdowns.
Hey, that reminds me of Zeke. Go ahead, get your spoonful.
Yeah, but these guys have a Super Bowl ring. Does Zeke have a Super Bowl ring? I can't remember.
Come on, man. Got some rushing titles.
But well, yeah, and I think it's just a sweet landing spot for Clyde here. I think with Andy Reid's offense, I mean, Patrick Mahomes was pushing for him to get drafted. It just seems to be a sweet setup for him, and I think he's going to get plenty of touches. I have him around easily around 215, 220, and for a rookie running back who they're claiming won't be the workhorse, the full workhorse for the team. They said it's going to be spread out a little bit, but I don't buy into that. I think he's going to get plenty of touches, and I think he's going to see a lot of receptions come his way too. So I think he's going to be a solid target to pick up round 1, early round 2. Yeah, I'm excited. The film that I was watching today just made me super impressed, even more than I was before. So, Jacob, tip my hat to you, man. You were right, and after a little bit more research, I had to sway my
Thank you
picks here.
kindly. Yeah, with Clyde here, we were all in the same. Everybody was in the same boat. I mean, Damien Williams was scaring people, and the fact that he opted out, and you knew Clyde, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was going to.
I'm stealing that as a new league name now.
He was gonna
team name.
He was gonna get some work no matter what. He was a first draft pick, so that's a lot of draft capital for a team. And Damien Williams he was a little bit older anyways, and just kind of came onto the scene the past couple of years and wasn't really he wasn't very elusive back. But I actually went and watched some film today on Allaire, and man, the dude is shifty. He's patient. He's fast. But I think the other part of that, which you said about him being a workhorse, I think that he is small. He's a smaller guy, so I think that might limit his. That's why I got him at 7 instead of like a top 5 running back, just because I think he'll get around 200 touches maybe, but I think he'll make up for it, like you said, with the passing work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely very excited about him. He's going to be RB1. Like I said, he's going first round. It's going to be bananas. Stefen, your thoughts?
See, I'm not as high on him as you guys are. Looking at my rankings when I was moving him up the board after the Damien Williams news, I was hesitant about putting him above other people. Obviously he's going to have a fantastic opportunity on that Chiefs offense. He's going to have the opportunity to be the guy there. The only people backing him up are DeAndre Washington, Darrell Williams, and still Darwin Thompson. So no one really that's going to contest that spot. But I'm just not as high up in terms of the talent that I think he has as you guys are. Like you said, he is a smaller guy. I don't think he was the best running back coming out of the draft. It seems like he's the fit that they wanted for that offense. So
right.
If they can get that going, if they can get him to fit in how they were kind of imagining, hopefully he can reach that expectations that they have set. But there's so much hype around him right now that, these hype picks coming into the draft really kind of worry me, just because there is a lot of hopes and expectations now that he is going to be the guy. It's hard to draft on hype rather than on some reality.
Like the 2019 Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a walking success story, man. What are you talking about? So on that note, do you think the Chiefs are like more excited now? I mean, no offense to Damien Williams, but that Damien Williams has opted out and that they can utilize CH more, or do you think they feel like it's rushed and that this isn't what they really wanted to do this year?
Well, I think Andy Reid has always been known for having like a workhorse back throughout his coaching career. I think that's kind of more varied this last couple of years since he's been with Kansas City, kind of juggling a backfield and trying to find that real workhorse back. But we saw Damien Williams get that opportunity last year, and he wasn't that impressive in terms of fantasy relevance. He only played in 11 games, but he finished as running back 35. So, for me, it's just I'm not – Clyde Edwards-Helaire on tape in terms of his college career, he had one good year, and he wasn't that great in my eyes as a college running back. So I don't have as lofty expectations as y'all do. I think my only high hopes is that he has a great opportunity to step right in and make an impact. And with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, he's going to get scoring opportunities left, right, and center.
Exactly. So, it's going to run through him still. So that's I would say, Ashton, that It's probably not. It probably didn't change much for them, honestly. I also think last year's running back room was a little murky with LaShawn McCoy in there as well, and kind of threw Damien Williams off. And was Carlos Hyde there for a minute?
I think he was there.
Wasn't he there
coming
for
into
like 2
the
seconds?
preseason, and then I don't think he made
Yeah.
the active roster. But yeah,
Exactly. So, and Damien Williams, I don't think Damien Williams is as good as Allaire is, but
yeah. Well, he's got to prove that in NFL in the
For
big
sure.
leagues. And
I agree.
I think there's still DeAndre Washington showed himself that he was relevant as a receiving back in Oakland. So the hype for Clyde Edwards-Helaire is his receiving ability, especially. So that could be a little foreshadowed with DeAndre Washington kind of maybe splitting some of those reps. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. But my only note is do beware the hype, because there is all the headlines are around this guy's going to get the chance to be a top tier running back right off the get-go. So we'll have to see, but he still does end up as our top AFC running back at running back 6, which is crazy to me considering our next running back is Derrick Henry, who was an absolute beast last year, and we're choosing this 5'7" little rookie over this monster of a man, Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry comes in as our consensus running back 7. Jacob, you're the highest on him at running back 6. So like I did for Ashton, I'll give you the lead on this one.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy the past 2 years he's had, and he had over 300 attempts last year, which is just nuts. But I mean, he's going to continue to get that volume, I think. There's not much coming in behind him. I know they drafted, I think, Darrington Evans, but he's a workhorse. He was built like a workhorse. That is why he can hold up to that many touches. And I think what I looked at, he actually did better once Ryan Tannehill got there, because Marcus Mariota, he would get loose, and he would vulture some of those goal line touchdowns and just rushing in general. So I think with Tannehill, who doesn't really, I don't think he's not very mobile. But I think 300 touches, I think that's a stretch to do it again. I think that's nuts. But if he does 250, I think what's the problem's going to be is that he doesn't receive the ball at all. But he's so efficient. He's just such a big, strong man. He had 18 touchdowns last year. And I'm not even sure how many were receiving touchdowns, but I doubt it was very many.
Yeah,
how many?
Two were receiving touchdowns.
So but the only question marks I have with him, I feel like this is like Stefen said, actually Stefen was saying something else. But anyways, I'm thinking that the only questions you're looking at is the game script is going to determine how many touches he gets. But the thing is with the Titans, they stayed close in a lot of games last year, a lot of one-score games with winning and losing. But they have a great defense, so the games are going to continue to stay close as long as the offense can keep up. So that's why I think he could still finish as in this spot. I think he was the fourth. I think was he fourth last year? Third or fourth last year overall running back. So I think he could definitely finish close to
Number 3
there.
last year, yeah.
Number 3. So I'm giving him some drop here.
Yeah, for me, I think obviously Tennessee wants to make Derrick Henry the spotlight of their offense. They want to do everything in the offense through Derrick Henry. We saw that last year. They just kept giving him the ball over and over and over again. This year, like you were saying, he did have 16 rushing touchdowns and 303 carries. I think that's going to come down a little bit. I don't expect those kind of numbers, especially the touchdowns have to come down. That's a ton of touchdowns to maintain year over year. So I do expect probably around 10 to 12 touchdowns, but 16 is a lot, and he's a big guy, so I do expect him to be a beast around the goal line. But he was just scoring left and right last year. But I expect a lot of teams to game plan a little bit better for him this year and make Ryan Tannehill beat him rather than Derrick Henry. So I think it's going to be a little tougher for Derrick Henry this year, but I do expect him to maintain his form and continue to be a consistent and elite running back for fantasy. So I had him, I think, the lowest out of us, but I still have him at running back 9 for me. So definitely still a running back 1.
Agree. He's a beast.
he's a big man.
Have you seen his workouts that he's been doing all season? Oh
It's
my
crazy
God.
that a man can move like that.
I think seeing
Like,
him,
like he needed to get any bigger.
I think if you put him, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and Aaron
Oh my
Donald in a
gosh.
workout room together, it would be, man. Next up, third of our AFC running backs, which actually kind of surprised me when I was putting together our consensus rankings. Joe Mixon was our third running back in the AFC as our consensus running back 8. I was the lowest on him at running back 7. Ashton, you had him at 8, and Jacob at 9. But I'm really excited for Joe Mixon this year. I think he's finally going to get a chance to shine. He was running back 13 on the year last year, but I think he really hit his stride after their bye week. They had a bye in week 9, and he was just a beast following that.
It was around that time I had him on my team.
On a really bad team too.
Yeah.
God.
Following the bye, at the week 9 bye last year, from week 10 on, he was running back 4 overall. So with Joe Burrow coming in and that offense kind of taking the next step in terms of turning that team around, I think Joe Mixon is really going to get a chance to shine this year and show that he is really, really an elite running back in the NFL. So I expect big things from Joe Mixon this year. I expect him to have a career year and really kind of shine. So I'm looking more towards Joe Mixon. I think he has a lot of upside this year and can really break out and show that he's, a top 5 running back in the NFL. What about you guys?
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to have a bounce. It's hard to even say bounce back because he wasn't terrible last year, but yeah, about bounce back year this year. I think he's going to have a better opportunity, a better game plan in Cincinnati. So I almost said Cleveland, but in Cincinnati, and I think their game script is going to change up a lot with Joe Burrow coming in. So I think that's going to open up the passing game and obviously leave room for more opportunity in the run game. So I'm excited to see him get back to it. I was really disappointed first half of the season last year. I had him on my team. He was my first RB on the board. Pretty frustrating stuff because I was anticipating a really good year from him last year, and it was a tough go. But he did start to swing around towards the end of the season. It just it wasn't enough for me to really feel happy about him last year. But I'm hoping that this year will be a lot better, and I wouldn't hesitate to draft him at all.
So for me, I'm the lowest on Joe here. My main concern is just it is a bad team, and I mean the numbers he put up last year is crazy. It should speak volumes about how good he is, but like you said, Joe Burrow is going to come in there, and I think he could definitely end up being higher than where I've got him. I'm just worried about how bad their team is. I think if they win a few more games, his numbers are definitely going to improve. He's already got back-to-back 1,000-yard reception or 1,000-yard seasons, 55 receptions 2 years ago and 45 this year or 45 last year. And I think Joe Burrow, they're going to let him throw the ball more than most rookie QBs, but they're still going to try to protect him, have a decent amount of running plays or just dump offs in general. And I think that could definitely benefit Joe Mixon.
Yeah. And I think that offense should just be better all around this year with the return of AJ Green. Hopefully John Ross is healthy this year. So it looks like they're going to have some good weapons in that entire Cincinnati offense this year. It could be a completely new look for them. So we will have to keep an eye on that offense. But next up, coming in as our number 4 running back for the AFC, but 9 overall is Nick Chubb.
Go ahead, take this one, Stefen. You seem to be in love.
I love Nick Chubb. I think the last 2 years he's shown that he's just a beast. Like the guy just absolutely came out of nowhere in terms of fantasy relevance and just exploded onto the scene. I think there's a lot of people that are worried that, Kareem Hunt's going to take a bigger chunk of that backfield this year. But I'm just not one of them. I think, Kareem Hunt was great for the Chiefs, but I don't think he's quite the running back that Nick Chubb is. I think Nick Chubb can be an absolute bell horse and just absolutely get every single snap, run the ball 300 times. He had 298 attempts last year and almost 1,500 yards. So I just expect him to continue in the same form that he's shown the last 2 years and just be an absolute beast once again. He was number 7 overall last year. I have him as my 6th overall running back. So I don't think there's any worry on my mind to take him in the first round and just expect him to be reliable week in and week out.
Clearly, you have no problem with that. So what I looked at were just basically the statistics with Hunt there and Hunt not there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had so Hunt came in week 10, and he put up 12 points. Then from then on, he had 4 or 5 games where he didn't really do much for you out of the remaining 7 or 6. So I think it's a little concerning just because we saw what Kareem Hunt can do when he was the lead back in Kansas City, and it was insane. He's obviously a great back, but he's mainly used right now as a receiving back or just a change of pace around third down. So that's my only concern. Nick Chubb, almost 1,500 yards last year, which is wild. So, and another thing, he wasn't very efficient when they were in the red zone. That stat, I can't remember the exact statistic for it, but it was like he had like 18, and he only ended up scoring. I think it was like 2 touch. How many?
8 rushing touchdowns on the year.
Right, and he had a lot of
opportunity.
It was 5 actually, so only 5 on the 5 rushing.
Yeah,
3 receiving. So I think that's going to go up, so I think it's going to kind of, with a full season of Kareem Hunt, and then his touchdowns are going to positively regress to the mean. So, but my main concern is Kareem Hunt there. I have no doubt in Nick Chubb's talent. I just think it's going to be based on a lot on their O-line and how he does in the red zone this year.
Where did Kareem Hunt end up last year? What was his final ranking, and what was Chubb's?
Chubb ended up as running back
28.
7 last year.
And where was Kareem Hunt?
I'm not sure.
Kareem Hunt was 27.
Yeah, Nick Chubb was number 7.
Oh, I thought he was 8. Must be in standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I agree with you, Stefen. I think that Nick Chubb will get the majority of the work here. I'm not worried about Kareem Hunt sneaking in too much. Unless there's injury or COVID issues going on with Nick Chubb, but I'm not worried about. He could be a
league winner
possession.
If Chubb goes down, though. For sure. If you have Kareem Hunt, I think that's one other thing to add about that.
Yeah, I think we definitely all know that Hunt is good if he gets opportunity, but yeah, Kareem Hunt was running back 50 on the year last year.
Are you drafting Kareem Hunt if you to handcuff to Chubb?
If you can, that'd be.
Yeah, I think it's.
Well, I think you're gonna have to take Hunt too high. I think he's going
higher than you would want to handcuff him.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
handcuffs are basically flyers.
75th overall, so he's going pretty high.
So a lot of people are still thinking that it's going to be more split than you and I might.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype, I think, around Kareem Hunt getting his first full season in Cleveland. So we'll have to see what they choose to do with that backfield. But for now, I think Nick Chubb is the guy until they say otherwise.
Until further notice.
But coming in our next spot, number 10 overall for us, second-year man Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think, again, he's a guy who last year he showed off in his rookie season, had a great year. That offense wasn't definitely not the best offense, but he continued to be relevant week over week. Finished as running back 18. So we're based on our rankings, we're expecting him to take a big step forward and finish as a running back 1 this year. So we have him at Ashton at 10, Jacob at 8, and myself at 12. So we're all expecting running back 1 numbers from him. Jacob, why are you so high on him at running back 8 this year?
Honestly, so he played 13 games last year, and he almost had, I believe he was close to, he had over 1,100 yards in 13 games. And then it was known, like, about 3 or 4 of those games, he had shoulder issues, and he was playing through, like, broken bones. So the guy's he's got the guts.
Didn't he have the flu and like lose?
Yeah, he lost 10 pounds.
Yeah, I remember something happened to him in the middle of the year.
So but your concerns are valid. Like I don't have concerns about his talent as well here. It's the team isn't that great. And, not a lot of running backs are able to provide elite value on bad teams just because the game scripts don't go their way. But like I said, he played through injuries last year, and I think a full season here will be great for him. The problem will be Jalen Richard taking away some of his upside. And so 8, I think he could definitely do it and break into the top 10, but it's going to rely a lot on him staying healthy and just not losing too much work to Jalen Richard.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jalen Richard's his biggest threat here, but I think they're going to utilize him a lot in the passing game. He showed a lot of that skill last year, and I think they're going to up that even more this year. So I'm excited to see him with those skills. How many touchdowns did he have last year? He had 7 total.
7. Mm-hmm.
How many of those were?
I think all
rushing. They were all rushing.
All rushing. Okay. So so positive regression and receiving touchdowns, I think, this year. So
that was the thing a lot of people were like kind of down about on Jacobs, and that's why they're kind of down on him. Well, not super down on him. He's going off as like the 9th running back off the board. Is his receiving work, and he just needs to be able to. They just need to give him something. Got to give him something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Las Vegas wants to, make him into a franchise back. I mean, he was on pace last year before he missed some games for nearly 300 attempts. He was on pace for 298, which, I mean, obviously they want to make him a stud and make him that guy that they can rely on. So he's going to get the opportunity, and he showed that he's a really, really good running back. So I don't see Jalen Richard kind of taking away any sort of chances for him. I think Jalen Richard is going to be, a receiving option out of the backfield, but unless Josh Jacobs is tired and wants a couple snaps off, I don't think Jalen Richard is going to contest him for that starting spot.
So absolutely not.
A guy that's going to get you all the carries in the world and going to score touchdowns for you. Another guy I think you can rely on week in and week out and is going to be really consistent, not going to be one of those up and down kind of running backs that you'll start to see in the later rounds. But next up, Austin Eckler is finally going to get his chance to be the starting guy for the Chargers. We have him at consensus running back 13. Alexa's kind of chiming in here, but we have him at consensus running back 13. We're all pretty consistent at 13, and 14. Do you guys see him kind of taking over as the 3-down back, or do you kind of see him splitting some of those rushing duties with Justin Jackson and being more of that receiving option still?
I have him leaning a little bit more towards the 3-down back position. I think they're going to – I mean, after his performance last year, I don't know. Unless I'm crazy, I would just lean on him as their reliable running back. I mean, Justin Jackson, I'm sure will have plenty of touches, but I don't think it's going to dive too deep into Austin Eckler's workload enough to hurt his ADP or his position, as a ranked running back. I think he's going to have a better year than he did last year.
I would say that you are crazy, but Austin Eckler is – he's a superstar. Last year, they gave him the chance, and I had him for the first few weeks, and I made the terrible mistake of trading him to Stefen for Aaron Rodgers, probably the worst mistake I've ever made for such a terrible QB that Stefen loves so much. But when Melvin Gordon came back, he still had standalone value. So and Justin Jackson, I do think he's going to get some more work this year, but Austin Eckler, he lines up to run routes. I mean, he's in the slot. He's going to be – he had 108 targets last year and 92 receptions. He almost had 1,000 yards receiving, which is insane. You're going to want to see a little bit more attempts this year, and I think we will, but he still finished with almost 600 yards rushing as well. So overall, he had a great season. And it really depends on how involved Justin Jackson is and just how bad the Chargers are going to be this year. everyone's. I know a lot of people are expecting them to take a step back, but their defense is scary good. So it could definitely keep them in some games and give them some more rushing upside.
Yeah, for me, I'm a little bit on the other side where I don't think he's going to be that 3 down back. I think Justin Jackson's going to get more work than a lot of people are kind of expecting. But I mean, I think it stands alone just to say he finished as running back 6 overall last year on 557 rushing yards. Like the fact that that happened shows you how good he is for fantasy. Like a running back that can only have 550 rushing yards finishing as running back 6 is crazy. So that kind of gives you some security and some assurance that even if he's not the 3 down back, even if he is just, still utilized in the way that he has been for the last couple of years with Melvin Gordon, I mean, he's still a great running back to have.
Just touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is absolutely explosive when he catches the ball out of the backfield. And he even showed that he can be, pretty decent running the ball as well. But I think with inexperienced quarterback, if Justin Herbert comes in, or if he gets Tyrod, they're going to be checking down to him, and he's going to be making plays. So Austin Eckler, still a guy that even if he's not the 3 down back, I think it'll still be a great value for fantasy. Next up on our list, I feel like we just keep changing pace with how the running backs kind of break down with the Clyde Edwards-Helaire to Derrick Henry. Now we're going Austin Eckler to Leonard Fournette. Just like complete different types of running backs. But we have Leonard Fournette as our running back overall 16. He was number 9 last year. How do you guys see that? Do you see the situation changing at all? Do you see anything kind of in that Jacksonville scenario changing that's making you downgrade him to running back 16? Or what's kind of y'all's thought process with Leonard Fournette?
Jacob?
He's one of those guys that I was as we were before the show started the show. I was like, he's one of those guys I think I want to revisit. I think the main reason people are concerned about him is just literally the trade talks. They said he was awful last year, but he averaged over four yards per carry and had 100 targets, 76 catches, 522 yards. I mean, so that's some of that receiving insurance / floor you're looking at to have with these guys. And he's going to have the full season with Minshew. I think they're a little bit more productive when he's out there versus the kind of wishy-washy, flip-floppy Nick Foles they had last year. He was injured, and you know how that went. But I'm thinking that he was RB7 last year with 3 touchdowns. 3.
I'm a running back 9.5 point. Is that wrong?
Maybe this thing didn't update. Yep, you're right. Sorry. Again. But still, with 3 touchdowns, top 10, I mean, that's insane. He's going to have more than that this year. You hope. I mean, Jacksonville, that team's going to look a lot different. There's going to be some practice squad people all over that team. But I think they mainly focus on the defense in the draft, and it's going to be a young defense. But hopefully they can keep the ball moving on the offensive side. They like I said, not going to have a great game script, but they still used him a lot last year and got him to running back 9 with 3 touchdowns. So I definitely see that going up. Maybe the reception's going a little bit down, but I think it'll even out. And I feel like 17 is way too high. I think he could definitely finish closer to a top end RB2.
I mean, he had 265 rushing attempts last year. He's going to see positive. Just in volume alone, he's going to have plenty of opportunity there. And I think, Jake Gruden coming in, offensive coordinator, loves to run the ball. You're going to have positive regression with touchdowns, I think, on Leonard Fournette. Like Jacob's saying, he's going to get more than 3 touchdowns. If he doesn't, then it's not his fault. I think it's just, that organization needs to figure out their
offensive line
their offensive calling. Maybe Jay's not the right fit. Something's going on. I mean, if he gets 3 or less touchdowns with the talent that he has, that's messed up.
And the workload he's getting.
Yeah. So, I definitely think his touchdown regression will be positive. I think passing, how many targets do you have? Passing.
100.
Yeah, he had 100. He had 100 targets last year.
That's nuts.
And I mean,
Crazy.
and like you said, Gardner Minshew in there. If he has a rapport with Gardner Minshew, more growth and time with Gardner coming into this year, then I only see that getting better as well. So I definitely think his numbers are going to go up this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys took the words right out of my mouth. I think the things to focus on is the fact that he did only have 3 touchdowns last year is something that has to go up. Like, if he's going to finish a running back 9 with 3 touchdowns, that shouts value for you. You can get him at the back end of round 3 right now. So I think that's a super safe pick, taking Leonard Fournette there. And for some reason, I feel like this year and last year, there's just always negative news around Leonard Fournette going.
There is. I don't get it.
And I think that really kind of hurts his value in terms of where people draft him. So I think you might be able to get a nice surprise with Leonard Fournette. The fact that he had 76 receptions last year was insane to me. I never looked at him as any sort of receiving threat. I mean, the year before he had 22 receptions, and his rookie year he had 36. So he was never really a big receiving back. But last year he proved everybody wrong. Had 100 targets, which is crazy for a guy like Leonard Fournette. But if that can continue and he can improve those touchdowns, I mean, he's going to be a great value to get at the back end of round 3 and can finish as, top tier running back. So
I did have one thing to add on that, that he doesn't have a team that he's playing for his next contract as well. So they have Jacksonville has no tie to him. They're going to run him into the ground. And also I do think about the targets last year that I think Chris Conley and a couple other options out there got injured and they had no one else to throw it to. So we'll see how this year goes for him.
Yep. Next up on our list, my guy, Melvin Gordon, consensus running back 18 for us. Ashton has him at exactly running back 18, so good job, Ashton, picking the consensus ranking. Jacob at 19 and myself at 15. I'll go ahead and take the jump here. I can't emphasize this enough, but Melvin Gordon is a good football player.
News alert.
I concur.
He held out for 4 games last year, but when he came back, he showed that he was still very, very good. 2018, he was running back 7. 2017, he was running back 5. 2016, he was running back 7. I mean, I don't know why people just continue not to give Melvin Gordon the respect he deserves. The only worry here is Phillip Lindsay is going to still be relevant, which
exactly
I do not think Phillip Lindsay is contesting Melvin Gordon for that sort of role in the offense. I think Melvin Gordon is going to be very, very utilized in that Denver backfield. I still think Phillip Lindsay has a role, but definitely not a role that's going to take away from Melvin Gordon's production. We saw Austin Eckler be very relevant with Melvin Gordon, and I think you're going to see the same kind of sort of breakdown where Phillip Lindsay is going to be utilized more of as a receiving back, where Melvin Gordon's still going to get the bulk of the carries there.
So I don't disagree with much of what you said, except that main thing is Wild Phil. Obviously they paid Melvin Gordon. He had a good contract to come there, but like at the same time, it's like Wild Phil, back-to-back seasons, over 1,000 yards. I don't think you can just be like, no, you're only going to receive now. But I mean, maybe he is. I mean, maybe they line him up a little bit in the slot. Maybe they have 2 backs out there, change it up a bit. And Melvin Gordon, he is a stud. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about his usage, and that's why I've got him where he's at. And I don't know anything. I don't know what the Denver's team is going to look like this year. I don't know. It feels weird, and I'm going to have to see a little bit more of it. I feel like there's a lot of rookies out there.
Do y'all know who had more receptions last year? Lindsay or Gordon?
I'm going to assume Lindsay just because he played more games.
It was Gordon. It was Gordon. Lindsay had 35. Gordon had 42.
That's because Wild Phil is the dump master, okay? You see this? He's just dumping it.
Wait. Doesn't have Wild Phil this year.
Yeah, I think you've seen Melvin Gordon be relevant without a ton of usage. Like he's never been a huge carry. I mean, his most carries was back in 2017. He had 284. But other than that, he's only had one other season over 200 carries. So, I mean, he's shown that he can be super elite without getting the ball 300 times. So that's why I don't think it hurts his value too much, because I do think he's great as a receiving back or as, a workhorse rushing back. So I still think he's going to be heavily utilized and be in that top tier once again. Next up on our list, I know both you guys are really, kind of prefer this guy over Melvin Gordon, but David Johnson, changing teams just like Melvin Gordon, finds himself in Houston. A little change of pace from Arizona. How do you guys see that shaking out there? Do you think it's a better situation for him in Houston?
This is Jacob's guy. This is Jacob.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, okay, like he's my guy, but I'm like you guys got him in 19 and 20. I got him in 18.
I mean, you're absolutely obsessed with him. In love
oh
with
my
him.
gosh, I'm taking him first overall. No, basically, we discussed this in the Studs, Duds, and Sleepers show. If you go on a full in-depth analysis on it, but mainly he's gonna be on the field as long as he's not injured. I could see him being a lot closer to a higher end RB2. I don't think he's gonna make it to RB1, but it's a prove it year for him after coming off the injury year last year, and he hasn't really. And then the year before that, he didn't play the whole season, broke everybody's hearts. You really just want to see him return to that form he had in was it 20? I think it's 2017 is when he was dominating the world. Bill O'Brien's definitely going to play him. Like, there's no way that he doesn't, because he traded the best wide receiver in football, one of the best wide receivers in football, to get him. And he's got a big old contract. And the thing that kind of just makes me feel a little bit better and helps me sleep at night is the fact that Carlos Hyde was able to get over 1,000 yards, and I don't think he compares to David Johnson and what he can do if he's healthy and just running the ball like he's supposed to, like a good old boy. And he's definitely a way better receiving option than Carlos Hyde was. So that floor for Carlos Hyde is something I could be okay with where David Johnson's going right now.
Yeah, David Johnson. I mean, I think his strength really falls in on receptions here. He actually had 4 receiving touchdowns last year, only 2 rushing touchdowns. Is that correct? He had more yards in receiving, 370. He only had 345 in rushing. If he can stay on the field and stay healthy, I definitely see him more of a receiving threat for the Texans, especially after losing DeAndre Hopkins, just another solid target for Deshaun Watson to aim at. But I mean, I'm not incredibly stoked on seeing his performance. I think the value comes in volume here with him and as a receiving target.
Yeah, I think a little bit differently than you with David Johnson. I still think he has running back 1 upside. I mean, he was great last year before he got injured. But I mean, he was injured in week 6 or at the start of week 7. But before then, he was running back 6 through week 6. So, I mean, he was great to start the season. But you saw
he was on my team.
Kenyon Drake came in and it was just a different David Johnson. I mean,
it was a different fit, man. Different fit.
I think the team in general just kind of changed, and they didn't want to rely on David Johnson anymore. But I think you're going to see back in Houston, he's going to get the chance to shine again. I mean, you do have the other DJ there with Duke Johnson, who will still get a lot of the receiving duties. But I think David Johnson is going to be relied on to kind of carry that load. So I think if he shows that he can still be a great running back, he can return back to that form that we used to see DJ always finishing as a top 12 running back. So that's my take on it. I think we're all kind of see different outcomes possible for David Johnson, but I think some of these guys in this tier that we're talking about now all kind of have these similar outcomes where they can either be running back 1s or they can fall down to running back 3 categories. So there's still big upside with some of these guys. Some of these guys are more veterans we've seen be elite in the past, especially this next guy who we're going to talk about, Le'Veon Bell. Consensus running back 20. We're all pretty similarly situated in our rankings of him. Last year, we saw that, the Jets wanted to give him the ball. They were trying everything possible to make him the centerpiece of their offense. Averaged 19 touches a game last year. They were trying to make him the offense, but was only able to get in the end zone 4 times last year, which is something that we're not used to seeing Le'Veon Bell do. We're used to seeing him having 10-plus touchdowns every year. But they went out and spent a lot of their draft capital trying to bolster that offensive line, picked up 2 offensive tackles in the draft this year.
One in the first round, right?
Yeah, I think like number 9 overall, number 10 overall. So they obviously want to see that improve. So if he can score more, just like what we were talking about earlier, if he can get in the end zone more, you can see him finish a lot higher. He finished number 17 last year, so not a terrible finish, but not where we're used to seeing Le'Veon Bell finish.
So the problem last year was where you drafted him and what he did for you.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think where he's going now to what he can do for you, as long as you hope that there's some positive stuff going on for the Jets, because it seems like that hasn't happened in a long, long time. With now you got Adam Gase there, which he doesn't even like Lev Bell. So this is his last year there. I could definitely see them running him to the ground again, and I feel like he got a lot. He got a lot of attempts and everything last year because the team was so bad, and Sam Darnold was out a lot. He had mono, and it was just, if you don't have your starting quarterback, things don't typically go as well as they can. And I think with a full season of a healthy Sam Darnold, I was looking, this is another one of those guys. I was like, man, this guy, the carries he got and just the overall talent, is with some improvement from the Jets offense in general, I think he could definitely be a lot closer to an RB2 and regain his former glory.
Yeah, I think he'll be consistent. I think he'll be a consistent play. I mean, as long as the volume's there, which I believe it will be, like you're saying, rolling in, Sam Darnold's going to be there, fully healthy. You can't get mono twice, right? Yeah, so it's like the chicken pox. So
something like that.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be one of those not terribly exciting, but consistent plays that you can pick up as an RB2.
Yeah, he actually, just a little quick note, he averaged about 10 points a game last year. So
yeah,
but not where he got drafted. That's not good enough.
Last year was a real down year for him. I think his numbers will go back to where they normally should be.
So too.
Yeah. So much excitement out of New York, right?
Next up, we have the Glass Man.
The guy who replaced Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, running back 21 as our consensus running back 21. Ashton and I actually have him at running back 21. Jacob is lower on him based on his overall thought on James Conner. So we've heard of multiple episodes so far at 25.
It will not stop.
We've seen James Conner be great with Ben Roethlisberger as the quarterback. Last year we didn't get to see that so much with Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph, but and even James Conner was hurt last year, so didn't have the best year, that's for sure. Finished as running back 33 on the year, but again, he's one of those guys who has fantastic upside that we've seen before, can finish in that running back 1 conversation. So I think with a healthy Ben Roethlisberger and a healthy Juju, if they can get that offense to, get buzzing again, I think James Conner can be a great running back, especially where he's getting drafted right now. You can get great value for him if he can stay healthy and that offense can get back to where they were. But there is a lot of what ifs around James Conner, more than some people are willing to take a bet on. So,
yeah, I mean, he only played 10 games last year, and with Ben back, it's a totally different setup for that offense. I mean, as long as Ben can stay healthy and stay on the field, and same with James Conner, right? If they're rolling healthy, I think his numbers are going to dramatically increase, especially in receptions this year, but and especially away games. But we've talked about that before, so
yeah, we have. I will just add that my main concerns are obviously around injury. I know he can be good because he was good that one time. That one time, Stefen. But when he had, I'm looking at it now, he had almost 500 reception yards that year. So that's something big you look for in these running backs. If they've got that ability, it just brings them up. But like I said, I just don't think he's built for it. It's not all bodies were created equally, and I just don't think. Yeah, I just said that. I just think the the injury risk outweighs what he's going to give you. But I think if they limit his carries, I think he could still be effective in a way that his body doesn't fall to pieces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think just the last little note, I mean, before he was injured last year, he was on pace for another great season. I think almost 1,400 total yards and 14 touchdowns. So, I mean, Mike Tomlin still wants James Conner to be the guy. So as long as he can stay healthy, just like Jacob is so eager for him to stay healthy, he can be great. Next up on our list, coming in is our number 12 AFC running back, 22 overall in our consensus. Mark Ingram had a great year last year for Baltimore. We saw a completely new offense with Lamar Jackson leading the way. Do you guys expect more of the same from Mark Ingram this year, or are you expecting some sort of downtick in what we see from Mark Ingram as he gets a little older?
I think you'll see some touchdown regression this year. I mean,
15 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I don't see him matching that this year. I mean, and I really like Mark Ingram. I think, especially recently after Lamar's talk about not wanting – did you see his latest quote about not wanting to go home? He hates going home during the playoffs. He wants to, get the Super Bowl, which, understandable. Who doesn't? Of course. That plays in the NFL. But there's a different hunger to Lamar this year than there was last year. And it's pretty exciting to see him, so eager to get back out here. But I think he's going to utilize all his weapons this year. And I think they relied a lot on Mark Ingram last year, obviously with 15 touchdowns. And I just don't see that balancing out the same this coming season.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. What do you got?
I mean, I think he was like you were saying, he was super, super efficient in terms of touchdowns last year.
The whole Ravens team was, it felt
right.
like.
I mean, he only had 228 touches total, which is not a lot for, a workhorse running back. I think Lamar Jackson just kind of took those duties basically as the workhorse rushing option for that team. So to have 15 touchdowns on 228 touches is a ton. So I think he's in line for, a big downtick, especially once they went ahead and drafted J.K. Dobbins with high draft capital. I expect him to get off to a great start to the season, but I think you can expect to see him lose some carries come week 6, week 8, somewhere around that midway point. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is going to get a bigger role in that offense.
Yeah, for me, I have 3 problems for him. It's age. He's 30 years old. Number 2, Lamar Jackson. Like Ashton was talking about, he's got some hunger, but he's also very good at running the ball. And I know that opens it up for running backs a lot of time, but I feel like he could just vulture 10 of those rushing touchdowns that Ingram had last year. He did average over 5 yards per carry, which that efficiency that's impressive. And this is a cool stat, guys. I actually had it for a couple guys, but I forgot to talk about it. But he was number 1 in his juke rate. So he was breaking them ankles.
Man, he's a high runner, man. He's a good guy.
Right. And then J.K. Dobbins was his third problem, just usage and the draft capital they put in him. I think he proved he was still productive last year, but Dobbins is going to eat into that for sure.
Didn't they have 3 Heisman winners on their team last year?
Yeah, Lamar, him, and
RG. Yeah.
RG broke a knee. You like that, Ashton?
Whoa.
Last up on our AFC running backs, we have Devin Singletary. Finally going to get the chance to be the guy in Buffalo. Split those duties last year with the ageless Frank Gore.
The vampire. That man's a vampire. It's immortal.
Finishes running back 31 in the year. Getting a little bit of respect this year with his ADP. We're expecting him to be running back 23, so we're expecting him to take that step forward, leading that Buffalo backfield. Obviously, they're not 100% bought in. They went ahead and drafted another running back this year, Zach Moss. So what are you guys expecting out of the backfield? Do you expect it to be all Devin, or do you expect it to be, a little bit of a committee again?
God, what a slap in the face it would be if Zach Moss came in and started stealing more touches from Devin. You think he's going to start looking for other options if that's the case? No, I think it'll be a change of pace. I think he'll be their lead back, and I think Zach Moss will have an opportunity here to get plenty of touches, but I don't think it's going to be the Frank Gore scenario.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat there, and I was looking at it that Singletary only started 8 games and still finished. What did you say? Running back 31,
Mhm.
and guess what, guys? He's number 3 on the juke rate. He's going to be breaking the ankles. And that was a big thing when he came out of college that everyone was really excited about, was just how elusive he is and how slippery he is the word they like to describe him. But I think without Frank Gore there and him starting the season as the lead back, I think there's definitely room for improvement. Like we're saying here, I mean, I've got him at 22. I'm the highest on him. I think he's going to be an RB2. I think he can make his way down to a midway RB2. But Zach Moss is definitely going to vulture some of those touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he has great upside. And he showed last year that he's a very, very good running back. I think he averaged over 5 yards a carry. Had a little bit of fumbling problems, had 4 fumbles on the year. But if they give him a chance to shine, I think he can show that he's a great running back in the NFL and can finish as, a top-tier running back too. He has good upside. So based on his ADP, I think he's going 53rd overall right now. I think you can get some really good value for Devin Singletary, especially if Zach Moss isn't quite ready for the NFL yet. But that kind of wraps it up for our AFC running backs. We will have our NFC running backs next Tuesday. And if you're lucky enough, we might do a second show this week. Surprise you guys with a second show with a head-to-head mock drafts. I know you guys are excited about that. We've done a couple.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
With each other, and it's been quite the smack talk. So hopefully you guys come prepared for that, and you guys come with all your insults and
yes,
things ready to go.
Hopefully Jacob dresses better for that episode.
I was waiting for someone to say something about what I'm wearing, and it finally happened. So yeehaw and go Cowboys.